So the first really tough lesson I learned in this business, and for anybody who's come into real estate in the last, especially 3-4 years, the toughest lesson is if you're not careful, a really good market can create horrible work habits.
Big it up, big it up. Hear in my
All right, welcome to Let's Talk Real with Mel. We are here with the Rich DeLuca, who needs no introduction, but I will share that some of you guys may not know, about 2.5 years ago, right before COVID, Rick joined the Exit family, actually as a regional owner and the regional director for the Pacific West region over multiple states. But why don't you tell us kind of what people may not know, how you started and take it from the beginning, assuming that we don't know who you are.
Yeah. Well, I started a long time ago.
40, 50 years, right?
I'm that generation. Yeah, this is my 46th year.
Okay.
So I'm that Vietnam generation. So when I came back, I wasn't even 21 years old, and I was done. I don't know what to do. And I was born and raised in Southern California. So I came home, and I went to work for LA County Sheriff's Office. I was a young cop, 21, 23. Got tired of Los Angeles, moved to Reno, and I went to work for Reno PD. And I was a cop there for 5 years, and was a detective my last year. And my best friend, Dwayne, we wanted to buy some real estate. So we wanted to buy a duplex, So I went to Bill Myers Realty. He was recommended. We bought a duplex, and throughout the whole transaction, Bill kept saying, God, you'd be great in real estate. You got to get in real estate. Years later, I found that he told everybody, you'd be great in real estate. So I got a real estate license, but I wasn't ready to leave law enforcement. I was enjoying being a detective. I was 28 years old, and, I was working about, I worked about 60 hours a week, made $19,000 a year, and I finally got burned out, and so I got a real estate license, but I was part-time. I was part-time for a year. I had no success. I was in Reno, Nevada, and I made $1,100 my first year. And so, but I saw a potential that I didn't see in law enforcement, because it's civil service, and you can only advance so fast.
Right.
And I wanted to get into something that I determine how quickly I advance. Not superiors saying, okay, you could be this now.
Step scale.
Yeah. And so I jumped into it, and my timing was really, really good. I went into the business in 1976, and the market in 76 through 78 was like what we just had the last 2 years.
Okay.
Shortage of inventory, just hotter than heck. And I sold 42 houses in my first year, and I thought, oh man, there's nothing to this, right?
So wait a minute. So your first year, $1,100 total.
Part-time.
Part-time.
Yeah.
Second year, a little more than 1,100.
Yeah.
Yeah. 42 houses.
Yeah. Yeah. But back in that time, our commission splits were 50-50. So.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, I made a pretty good living. And that lasted almost 2.5 years. And then it's like somebody turned off the switch. October 1979, things started doing this. Interest rates, we got to 19%. We couldn't give away houses. And so going from a shortage of inventory to so many houses that they're on the market for a year and a half, a lot of people left the business. I actually thought about leaving the business. I was broke within 3 months. So the first really tough lesson I learned in this business, and for anybody who's come into real estate in the last, especially 3-4 years, the toughest lesson is if you're not careful, a really good market can create horrible work habits.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me.
And I think that's what's happening to a lot of folks that, that may be watching this right now. The hardest part of success in real estate or in anything is the discipline. Being disciplined when things are going well, and then when things are going bad, to push through, that perseverance.
Yeah, and the tough part, Mel, is if you didn't learn good work habits, you don't know what to fall back on. And so I literally had to start from scratch. I had to rebuild my career, and I got some great advice from my father, who was real successful. And so I set out, said, okay, I'm not going to quit this thing, even though I thought about it. I said, I got to stick this thing out, because my dad said something to me. He goes, if you get up in the morning and look in the mirror and you can say, I did everything possible and it didn't work, then you'll get through it. But if you look in the mirror and say, man, if I only would have done this, he said, I don't know how you could live with that. Man, that just ate away at me. So, and I hadn't done everything possible. So I decided I'd better just bust it here and do it. So turned out pretty well. Went on, I sold about 200 homes a year, and then built a company.
Here, wow.
Yeah, I built a company. I had 192 agents, and my claim to fame wasn't me. No false modesty here. I mean, my agents were incredible. We led the nation in per agent productivity, and so when RealTrends rated us #1 in the United States, an independent company, people came waving checks, and I said, "I'm out of here." Right.
Right. I didn't realize. I mean, I knew you had a top office. I knew you were. I mean, I remember that you had a really very, very high per agent production.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that you were RealTrends #1.
Yeah. So it was a blessing, but I, and I just got married. I had 2 little boys, and I thought I worked a lot, right? And I thought, I don't know if I'll do this again. Maybe I ought to take the check, and so I did. I thought I retired, but
Just signed up for more work, right? Then everyone wanted to see you speak.
yeah, that's right.
And for those that don't know, you have been a national, international speaker for
Yeah, over 20 years now. Yeah, over 20 years I traveled, mainly North America, but I've been in other countries, speaking in other countries. And as you alluded to in the introduction, about 3 years ago, I said, you know what? I had a great time. It was very financially very rewarding. The family had lots of benefits. Go around the world, they treat speakers very well and their families. And I said, but I want to finish my career back in real estate. I want to do that. So I just kind of put the word out, that I want to get back to business. And I was very humbled. I had several offers come to me, and I took a month and a half to decide who I was going to finish my career with.
All right, we love it. Well, we're blessed and fortunate, and I'm sure everyone here at convention is happy that you joined us. So tell me, so what was that like? You it took a month and a half. You made the decision, and then and the timing of that. What was that? There were some things going on in the world at that time.
Yeah, I had what I called 5 must-haves. I had 5 boxes that had to be checked. Because again, I worked for almost everybody out there, right? It was a hired gun, right? So I knew them from the backside a little bit. And, my 5 were, I am, give some people a ray of hope here, I am basically disorganized. I have been my whole adult life. And yet my biggest year in real estate, I sold 292 houses. And so you don't have to be Mr. and Miss Organization to sell real estate. You got to surround yourself. My dad taught me this. You're only as good as the people you surround yourself by. And I had really competent people that their strengths were my weaknesses. And so I wanted to go with someone that had systems and checklists, as boring as that might sound, because I know myself well enough. If I don't have a system or a checklist that guide me, I'm all over the board. And Exit has that. And our resource center is like a giant library.
Yeah.
And everything in the world is in there, right? So I had to have that. I had to have trainers because I knew I couldn't possibly do all the training for my region. And I was so impressed that Exit has a full-time staff of trainers that only work for Exit. And I was really impressed as I delved into who they were. And then the third one was technology. We all know you can't survive without technology, especially in real estate.
Yeah.
And the thing that impressed me most about their technology, Exit's technology, is that they didn't find some tech tool and then go out there and ask, hey, can we co-brand it? And if they made a change, well, we're at their mercy. Our technology is proprietary.
Yeah.
We created our technology. We own our technology. And to see the things they've done, as simple as mobile business cards, people don't have those. The geo smart signs. I mean, come on. Competitors don't have that. So that really impressed me. But then I had a fourth consideration, and it's really hard to measure. It's hard to quantify, and that's culture. It's really tough how do you define culture, right? And so I did my best, and something that just screamed to me at the top of the list, because I have been around so long, and I've seen recessions, I've seen some pretty severe times, right?
Yeah.
And what I saw was a company that I had never seen do what they did. That was during the economic crash in 08 through 11, when mass layoffs are occurring, which is happening now, as we know.
Yeah. Big companies.
Exit's the only real estate organization I know that it didn't lay off one single person. And that just screamed the message to me. That's the kind of culture I want to be with. Their longevity of their management people, 17 years, unheard of.
Yeah.
And a thing that I guess finally on that one point, and careful what I say here, but almost every real estate organization of size, specifically franchises, the people at the top never listed a house. They never had a buyer in the back seat of the car. And Tammy Bunnell does.
Oh yeah.
Steve Morris did.
Yeah.
They've been in our shoes. And so when they create things, they create it out of their own experience. All right. So that was the fourth one. And then the fifth one was because I've seen every business model out there. I wanted to go with someone who had a unique business model, something I had not seen. And I'm not a fan of profit sharing because you can manipulate numbers.
Right.
I'm not a fan of stock options, which I mean, look at the stock market, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
In their residual sponsorship bonuses that we have, you don't need a calculator.
Real dollars.
You know, it's so simple.
An amortization calculator at that to figure out.
Right.
All you need is
That's it.
10%.
So it really impressed me. So when I saw those, it took a month and a half. I had my wife fly to Dallas to meet Tammy and Bob McKinnon, our director of leadership, because I had met Tammy on several occasions. I spoke at the Exit Convention in 2016 in the Bahamas, and I wanted my wife's, I've learned a valuable lesson not to make major decisions without her concurrence, right?
Yeah.
And she said, man, this is the real deal. So, yeah. So March 1st, 2020, I started. 10 days later, the world changed. COVID.
You really started.
Yeah.
So it changed up a little bit. You were planning to hit some cities and do some traveling,
and I learned how to use Zoom real fast. Yeah. So now that that's lifted, you know, I do get to get out, you know. But you know what's nice though? All of us have become used to Zoom.
Yeah.
And different virtual tools, and it has really brought about a lot of efficiency. But I think we got to be careful that we don't lose the personal touch part of it.
Yeah.
And that's what the last 4 days has been here.
Yeah, because you can. I say that to my agents all the time. You can look up. We're not an avatar. Like we're not a cartoon. Though that may be on the screen, we're real people. You know, we need real conversations. You know, and that's where connections are really made.
Yeah.
Teeth to teeth, as Vaughn would say.
Yeah. There's only so much a virtual hug can do for you.
Right. or virtual high five.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
So you've seen. I mean, obviously, being in business in the 70s.
Yeah.
And then coming to now, what's probably, I mean, this is, you know, let's talk real. What would be, if it wasn't going through COVID, what would be the most, I guess, real situation or the real climate that you saw in real estate? Was it the '08 time? Because I'm sure that the times before that were, for the moment, were the biggest time. Yeah. What was that like in when that turn happened, and when was that? Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, you know, I think everybody can, you know, identify that the unique aspect of we'd never seen a market like 2005, 6, 7, where they were just handing out money.
Right.
You know, and the handwriting was on the wall that, man, we're going to go over the cliff on this. So you just can't do that. You can't qualify people at 1% and then ratchet it up, you know, every year. You bury these people, right?
Yeah.
And so those of us who've been around for a while were increasingly nervous as we went down that path. And so, not to go into it, but there were so many factors that entered into the collapse of the economy. And it was scary. I mean, so many people bailed in our industry, and builders, they're gone. I mean, it was the toughest work. It was tougher than 79 to 82. And in the early 80s, people wanted to buy a house, but they couldn't because interest rates were so high. But they still wanted to own. And during the economic crash, people didn't want to buy real estate because that security of appreciation was taken away. The rug was pulled off from under them. And we'd never faced that before. You know, so that was a new wrinkle. That was pretty unsettling for a lot of people.
So at least in the 80s, I guess people had, you know, they could still do wrap mortgages,
Absolutely.
the assumptions, and some of those people were buying subject to, and
Exactly.
trying to lock in that lower financing.
That's right.
But that is a big difference in the '08.
Yeah, I said, you know, those of us who've been around a long time sit back and chuckle right now, because I remember conversations in our office saying, God, if we could just get interest rates back down to 12%, we can sell houses again. You know, and now here we are today.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I got 7%. Oh no, what do I do?
Yeah. It's and that's why I'd say to the clients out there, we're still below the 50-year average. So if you look at real estate, which always appreciates, there's never been a 10-year period in history where real estate hasn't appreciated. And so we have a conversation. Are you looking to try to make a quick lick? Are you trying to buy and then sell and time things and speculate? Or is this a house for your family? that you're going to be in for 5, 10, 15,
Yeah.
20 years.
Yeah, and I think that, to speak to the market today, I think this is because I've seen this movie before, right? But here's kind of what's going on right now. When you do last year, 2021, when you do 6.1 million home sales, second highest year ever to 2005, we kind of created this false impression of, well, that's the way it is now. And then this year, we don't know exactly, but this year we'll probably end up as a country around probably 5.2, maybe somewhere in that range, million sales.
Yeah.
Well, when you drop 900,000 sales, that's like going over a cliff. But if you look at the previous 5, 6 years, we were selling 5.2, 5.3, 5.4.
Yeah.
And we were thrilled. But when you couple that giant fall, and then you couple interest rates ratcheting up twice what they were a year ago, and then you throw into the mixture news media that take that and run with the negativity.
Yeah.
All right. I did a training session a few months ago for my region and said the single most important thing in a market like we have today is to do everything you can to maintain confidence, because those factors will just destroy your confidence. It'll take the knees right up from under you. That, my gosh, what's happening? People are in shock, quite frankly, because even though, it's only 7%, it doubled in 12 months. And so that's such a rapid, increase of rates. People are kind of get scared. And then all the negativity, and then you throw in the final piece, an election year. When you've got an election year, I've seen this, I can't tell you how many times in 40 years, right? People get increasingly nervous the closer to an election we get. And
They want to wait and see what happens. Sorry about that.
exactly right.
But really, I know.
So here's the bottom line. The election's over in a couple of weeks. People will still be in a little bit of shock for another several weeks. Come January, February, we get back to life. Say, well, this is the way it is now. And that's what's going to happen next year.
Yeah, I believe so. And I tell the agents, because unfortunately, and I know you've seen this as well, some agents subscribe to all the frenzy. And I say, listen, no one wants to, when you're, if you're running from a burning building, do you want to follow the person that's screaming on fire? No, you want, the clients want us to lead. The clients are looking for us to be the rock. They don't want to ask you, hey, how's the market? I don't know. It's crazy, right? That doesn't, because really what that says to me is that then you're not educating yourself on the local market. And really, a USA Today Times or a Fox headline or a CNN headline doesn't matter. What really matters is, has anyone ever sat with you and explained to you what's happening in your neighborhood? Yeah. And that's all that people care about. What's happening on my street, in my community.
That's right. Here's my final thought. It's the number one thing I've learned in 46 years about this business. The higher your self-confidence goes, the higher your production goes. They are a mirror image of one another. So my message to real estate folks, brokers and owners and agents, anything you can do to build your self-confidence will get you through this in a way that you can't even imagine. So that's what you focus on. And a huge part of that is knowing the market, not hearing from it. You find out what the market is. You need to know that, because it'll get you through this.
And the consumers will know. When they say, well, how much is my house worth? And you say, about.
Yeah.
But if you say, no, actually there were 17 homes that sold last month. There were 3 new homes that came on the market. The average sales price is X. Like, when you know the numbers, the consumers will know that this person knows what they're doing versus this person is winging it.
I've said for years, what we do for a living is not really complicated. It's just hard work. It's hard work, but it's not that complex. But you got to know that information. If you don't, you're at the mercy of other people. So,
yeah, I love it.
Good for you. Good for you for what you're doing for the industry.
Oh, well, thank you. And you've served us. Like I said, I remember seeing you on stage, and then even years before that, buying your courses, buying your stuff. I have always been a fan, and like you said, when the market was hot, the fish jumping in the boat. But when you go back to fundamentals, never go out of style. Answer the phone when your phone rings. Make your prospecting calls.
Yeah.
If you tell someone you're going to do something, just do it.
We have a tendency in this industry to make it more complicated than it was ever intended on being.
Yeah. You're right. Let me see. Let me go with a quote. I've got a quote of the day. Let me share. All right. This quote is from Eleanor Roosevelt. You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You are able to say to yourself, I lived through this horror. I can take the next thing that comes along. Eleanor Roosevelt. And I know for some people, I don't think this is a horror that we're in, but some people are acting like it is. This is just a vicissitude. This is a vicissitude. And we, just like you said, that the 6.1 million wasn't sustainable. The 2% interest rates weren't sustainable either. That's just, but everyone thinks that's the new norm. That if the consumers educate themselves and the agents, you guys, it's your job to educate your clients, educate your friends and family on what's happening. Then lead by example, be the rock, be steady.
That is just like you are.
All right. Well, thanks. So now let me ask you, if you've got the Pacific West region, you're a regional owner as well. What if someone wanted to say, I'm a top producing agent, or I want to take that next step. I want to lead by example. I want to grow a business in your area on the West Coast, or if I'm just an agent and I want to find an office that's going to help me grow. How would we reach out to you?
Probably the best way is just my email address.
Okay.
It's rdeluca, DELUCA, rdeluca at exitrealty.com.
rdeluca at exitrealty.com.
And that'll come right to me.
Yeah. Shoot you an email. Say, hey, I want to I'm thinking about opening an office, or I'm not sure whether I should open an office, but you would be the person, you would be able to have a conversation with me about that.
I will be personally who you deal with. That's right.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. You've always been, even when you're on the biggest stage, you're staying after, you're talking to folks, you're willing to share. I appreciate the time you've given us today.
It seems like, I know it sounds corny, but it seems to me like it's the least I could do for what this industry's done for me, given my background, to have the success I've had. It's the least I could do to try to help anybody in this industry. Sounds corny, but it's the truth.
I love the story. $1,100 the first year in real estate, 42 houses the next year full time.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
If I can do it,
Right, many can do it. Well, we appreciate it. Thank you very much for your service
You're
in this industry.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.